It was about this time of the year in 1977 when my then new bride and I loaded up our 1967 Ford 3/4-ton pickup, hauling a 12-foot U-Haul trailer with all of our worldly possessions, and headed for Anderson, Indiana to begin seminary. Well, I had never been to Indiana before. I was in for quite a culture shock. And we started out on that trip with no cell phone, no credit cards, just a wad of cash, no backup plan, no reservations, no plan B. And when I look back on the 30 years that have transpired since then, I can't help but say how lucky and how blessed I have been in my life. And I remember loading up that pickup truck, and it was loaded to the gills, no pun intended. We had enough food in there. My mother made sure we had enough food in there for about 3 weeks. And we just kept loading stuff in. I still remember that day on my parents' front yard. This was a big adventure in 1977. 22, 23 years old. And like I say, it was a whole new world that was about to open up. And so finally we got everything packed up. And my mother said, well, just wait a minute. There's one more thing left over here. There's a piece of string here that you probably should put in the truck somewhere. And at this point I'm going, Mom, that's good enough. Just look, we got to go here. You're driving me crazy. And no, honey, take this. Now you never know, you might need a piece of string. And so we put it in the glove compartment. And I carried that piece of string around for years. And I'm not kidding. There must have been half a dozen times when I used that piece of string. I said to myself, I need a piece of string. I know where there's a piece of string. And I carried that thing around for years. In fact, I think I still have it somewhere. Let's see here. There it is. So I'm going to leave this with you when I'm gone, because you never know when you're going to need a piece of string. And it will remind you of me. And I know when I left, in her own beautiful way, my mother had a place of like holding my place. I've spoken about this before, holding my place at home. She was always holding my place. I knew she was always there holding my place. So I'm going to leave this here for you, and I know that you're holding my place here. And I'll just tie it right here under this candle, which we will talk about this candle a little bit later and kind of what it means. And you can use that if you need it, that piece of string. Well, as Judy said, we are leaving this week for our sabbatical leave. And the word sabbatical has its root in the word Sabbath, which means to rest or to cease. And Sabbath is a concept that has to do with setting aside a designated amount of time and consecrating that time for the purposes of God, consecrating that time in order to make it holy. The Alban Institute says that sabbatical leave is not just a break from meetings and from sermons and from needy people, but it is, in fact, a time when the pastor shifts gears to rest, to disengage, to study, to reflect, and to travel in order to return to minister refreshed, renewed, and re-inspired. And some people, in fact, have called sabbatical renewal leave. Renewal. That's the theme of that's the focus, that's the purpose of what Connie and I will be doing. Renewal, or as the French say it, renouveau. Renouveau, renewal. And that is the intention. So sabbatical leave is not, first of all, an exit strategy. I do intend to come back. And it's not just an extended vacation, although there is that aspect to it, and yet there's focus and intention, and the real goal is renewal. That's the purpose, and the purpose is based upon the promise of renewal from God. Behold, I have made all things new. I have renewed all things. So this has been a long time coming. In fact, this agreement was in my original understanding, my original contract with the church when I came here 8.5 years ago, and it will in fact be my third sabbatical leave in the course of my ministry. On the first one, I worked on my doctoral dissertation. On the second one, I don't know exactly what I did. I rode my motorcycle a lot. And now I think we've explained some of the course of our sabbatical this year, beginning with the family time and the time at the Hermitage, and then a month in southern Spain. So renewal for me and for Connie and for the congregation. And what does renewal mean? And I hope this is helpful for you in understanding not only your place in helping provide this beautiful opportunity for me, but in your own spiritual life. And as I reflected on the theme of renewal, I came up with 3 images that have meaning for me. First, renewal has to do with rekindling the fire. And there's a scripture in the New Testament which says, fan into flame the gift of God within you. Fan into flame that God-given, grace-given gift that's been imparted in your own soul. And each of you have such a gift, a spiritual gift, that needs to be nurtured and fostered and fanned into flame. Fan into flame that spiritual gift that God has given you. And so number 1, my time away is a time for redefining and reclaiming and recalling and renewing my own call to ministry and the gifts that God has given me. And I've shared my own testimony, the story of my calling before, but just to reaffirm that the reason I've done this work for these years is not because I chose it, but it chose me. It sprang out of my gifts, my God-given gifts and my calling. And that has been my mission consistently for these years. My personal mission statement has never changed. To communicate the good news in such a way that people are inspired and educated and transformed. That's been my personal mission statement. It's never changed. Now my understanding of the good news has been tweaked a little bit, has been, as a recent presidential candidate said, has been refined a little bit. Because now I know the good news has to do with a more comprehensive, universal love. This creative, loving, personal presence at the center of the universe, which beckons all of us into relationship and which calls forth our best selves and our highest selves. And so in my better days, I understand that I've been able to communicate some of that presence and some of that power and purpose to people in my congregations. And I'm still inspired to do that. A little weary, maybe, at times. A little tired. You know, lots happened in my life in the last 10 years. A lot. And some of it's been very good and some of it's been very challenging. So I feel like this is timely. This is timely for me. It's very timely.